Sometimes kind strangers gave me soup or old clothes. I never went back to school after first grade, but I desperately wanted to learn. I taught myself to read using dirty newspapers that blew through the streets. Every time I discovered a new word, I felt proud of myself, even though nobody else noticed. Life on the streets hardened me, but it never turned me cruel. I made one promise to myself when I was still a child. I would never steal, and I would never hurt innocent people, no matter how hungry I became. Many nights I went to sleep with painful hunger twisting inside my stomach, yet I refused to take what did not belong to me. I wanted to remain a good man, even if the world treated me badly. As the years passed, I survived by doing small jobs. I carried heavy boxes at markets, cleaned car windows, swept sidewalks, and unloaded delivery trucks. My body grew strong, but my opportunities never improved. Employers did not trust homeless men. Without education or an address, I was always replaceable. By the time I turned 45, I owned almost nothing besides an old coat, a backpack filled with worn clothes, and a large cardboard box that protected me from the freezing ground during winter nights. People often treated me like garbage. Some covered their noses when I walked by. Others shouted insults and told me to disappear. Their words hurt more than the cold, because deep inside, I still wanted to belong somewhere. I still wanted someone to see me as a human being instead of a problem. Most nights, I walked through the city feeling like a ghost nobody could see. Then came the worst winter I had ever experienced. The snow in Chicago that year was relentless. Freezing wind roared through the streets day and night, and the temperature dropped far below zero. One Tuesday evening, I found shelter behind a bakery near a dark alley. The warm smell of fresh bread drifted through the air and made my empty stomach ache painfully. In my pocket, I carried only one small piece of stale bread that I had saved from earlier that day. It was all the food I had left. As I sat against the brick wall trying to escape the wind, I suddenly heard a faint cry nearby. At first, I thought it was an animal, but then I heard it again. I slowly stood up and followed the sound around the corner. There, beside a trash can covered in snow, sat a little boy no older than 7 years old. He wore only a thin red sweater, and his small body shook violently from the cold. His cheeks were wet with tears, and his lips had turned pale blue. Fear rushed through me immediately. I knelt beside him carefully and spoke in the gentlest voice I could manage. "Hey there, buddy. Are you lost?" The boy looked at me frightened. "He can't find my dad. I'm really cold." I looked up and down the empty street, hoping to see someone searching for him, but the blizzard had driven everyone indoors. Snow covered the sidewalks, and the wind howled between the buildings like a wild animal. No police cars passed by, no pedestrians appeared. The city suddenly felt empty and dangerous. The little boy wrapped his arms around himself and shivered harder. "I'm hungry, too," he murmured weakly. I reached into my pocket and touched the dry piece of bread. My stomach burned with hunger, and for one selfish moment, I considered keeping it for myself. But then I looked into the child's frightened eyes and remembered the terrified little boy I once was at that bus station many years ago. I knew exactly what loneliness felt like. I knew what it meant to believe nobody was coming back for you. Without another thought, I handed him the bread. "Here," I said softly, "eat slowly." The boy devoured every crumb while I forced myself to ignore the sharp pain in my empty stomach. Watching him eat somehow made me feel warmer inside. For the first time in many years, I felt useful. The storm quickly became worse. Snow blasted into the alley so fiercely that it felt like tiny knives cutting into my skin. I realized the boy could freeze to death if we stayed exposed much longer. I grabbed my cardboard box and pushed it against the brick wall to block some of the wind. "This is our castle tonight," I joked weakly. The child looked at the box and gave a tiny smile. "A castle?" "That's right," I replied, "and I'm the guard protecting it." I wrapped my old coat tightly around his shoulders and helped him climb inside the box. Then I sat directly at the entrance to shield him from the freezing wind. My thin shirt offered almost no protection against the cold, but I could not let the boy suffer. Every gust felt like ice driving into my back, yet I remained there hour after hour. The boy told me his name was Ethan. He tried to stay brave, but I could hear fear trembling in his voice each time the wind screamed through the alley. To keep him calm, I told him funny stories about imaginary kings